Hello, viewers. My name is Chungla Dorji. I come from Bhutan. I work as the Chief District Education Officer. Today, I'm here to share some of my personal experiences regarding education in crisis. Before that, I would like to personally pay my gratitude to the Education in Crisis conference convener and the team for accepting my proposal to share some of my personal experiences and views about education crisis. Uh, I would like to share my living experiences, and I also like to share some of the challenges, and I also like to put forward some of the way forward in order to come up with probable solutions to education crisis. We all know that the COVID-19 pandemic has not only affected education, it also took human lives. And still now we are battling with the COVID-19 across the world. More so, children living with COVID-19 pandemic has become, I believe, a global scenario and a global issue. And if you're not able to address, and I believe it will going to continue the downward hill in coming up with solutions so that our future generations do not get affected by what we do at present. Bhutan had experienced the first time national lockdown from 18 March 2020. Minister of Education, schools and institutions were caught off guard of what we are going to do to our students. What are some of our plans and programs? What are some of the way forward that our children should do in such a situation if we are really, really caught off guard? Nevertheless, Minister of Education, the Royal Government of Bhutan under His Majesty's leadership, I think Bhutan has come a long way in order to address some of the issues so that our children in schools do not get affected by COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, I would like to share firstly the challenges. When government declared national lockdown from 18 March 2020, many of us, including teachers, including district education officers, including planners, were caught unaware of what we should be doing to our school-going children. We are not able to communicate what are some of the steps that we need to take in order to help our students. What are some of the policies and guidelines to help our children keep going learning in the schools? And I believe over 1 or 2 months, Royal Government of Bhutan has initiated lots of plans and programs. Still then, we as an educators are not prepared, I would say, we are not prepared emotionally, or we are not prepared how to handle the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected not only the lives of children, but also affected even the lives of the population. We also experience the digitization divide, where students living in very remote places are not access to phones, are not access to radio, are not access to the national televisions. I think these are some of few challenges. And in schools, teachers do experiences that they do not have uh, a concrete plan to continue their education with the students. Because once the national lockdown was declared, students were sent home or students were not able to come to the schools, and there's no continuation of communication. And that is where the school as an institution confronted challenges. And beside at the highest level, I think the whole population is still affected by the COVID-19. We do not remain as idle. The Minister of Education has initiated lots of new programs where schools and the districts are to implement and are continually implementing even now also. And that is where I would like to share some of our strategies. Minister of Education has initiated so-called education in emergencies, in EIE, where whole schools in the country were guided to that plan, how to continue education despite being in a lockdown situation. In order to make students engage during the stay at home, the Minister of Education, in collaboration with our national broadcasting service, teachers and in collaboration with Minister of Education and Royal Education Council has initiated the broadcasting of teaching through national television, through radio, and through Google Classroom. And in schools, each school has come up with their own ideas of creation of Google Classroom. Continue then, especially in secondary schools, each school has come up with the online teaching. And those students who are not access to online teaching or Google Classroom, Ministry of Education has come out with the supplementary reading called SIM, that is self-instruction materials. It has been printed and it has been distributed to the schools where where children living in a very far distance, they are access at least to get engaged themselves through this printed document. This is called as SIM. And at the district level, each district has come out with their own strategies to how to support and help students make contact with the students. Each school has prepared emergencies plan. Each school has come out with contingency plan where the normal classroom teaching is being incorporated in that plan, and whereby the school administration has initiated to make continue their teaching through social medias like Telegram group, like WeChat group, WhatsApp. And I think, I believe this really worked at least to keep students engaged so they don't get lost of what they had been learning in the normal situation. And some of teachers had initiated their own way of delivering lessons through social media. The most common, I believe, is been through Telegram group, through WeChat, and even assessment done through these social forums. In a way, both the enhancement of digital, I would say digitization skills, both for teachers and students, had drastically enhanced, and that is where I think the conferences do addresses how to enhance digitization skills. And despite that also, uh, especially in the remote settings, the school management has come out with routine planning where teachers take turn to visit each household, and where teachers and students come in personal contact, following all the COVID-19 protocols. And this is one area where the community really appreciated our teachers, so that because that students are being kept engaged despite lockdown. And it's very encouraging to know uh, many schools in the districts had been delivering the lessons to such plans and programs. Of course, we know there are lots of challenges because there are no good road conditions, there are no good access to uh, our teachers walking through lots of forests where they encounter lots of difficulties. Despite that, our teachers, especially in the remote settings, had really contributed to keeping the continuation of education. Bhutan, for the first time, also experienced the digitization divide. I would say that those students, especially studying in towns and cities, I think they had liberty of getting access to internet, quick access to whatever the lesson being delivered by each subject teacher, compared to those students uh, living in a very remote and far distance. And that is where the gap need to really fill up, and so that so that we can address the societal inequalities. We also face challenges uh, in delivering the lessons, especially in terms of access to internet. Though the teachers are prepared to deliver the lesson online or through social forums, I think if there is no internet access, I think there is no use of the good plan or the excellent plan that have if it's not been reached to students. The other one, I would say, is our not only education has been affected. I think race of the institutions are also being affected, and moreover, human lives are being affected, not only in Bhutan but the whole world. And this is the time I believe the whole world must come together to address what we can do to the future of our country. And it is only through education that things can be tabled for discussions. Things can be decided through the table, not through the reflections. And that is where I would like to personally extend my heartfelt gratitude for South Asian region for coming up with such great ideas of having education in crisis conferences. This is the time where people from all over the world should come together and discuss what we can do to the future of our country. And And I believe it's only through education, and it's only through education that any problems in the world can be resolved, can be resolved. So therefore, I would like to suggest my personal way forward. I believe each South Asian region country has come up with their own practices to counter COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to personally suggest that each country to share their outstanding practices to keep the continuity of land burning to our future citizens. The next would be the policies. Should there be lockdown? Should the crisis be continued? What are some of the policies? What are some of the education policies? What are some of the decisions that we need to implement at the school level? What are some of the rules and regulations we need to abide by? More so, how can we help our students learn in times of such crisis? We do not want to repeat what had happened last year. We believe that millions and millions of students stayed home because of the fear of getting infected with COVID-19. It is high time that we come together and address. And if we don't come together, like-minded professionals, scholars, educationists, don't come together to discuss the future of citizens, I believe we are handing down a generation that would ruin their lives. We do not want to happen. We do not want to ruin the future lives. It is in the hands of policymakers. It is hands of the implementers. That is we, including myself. But we really need to depend upon what are some of the policies. We need to look at what are some of the guidelines. Is it really helping our students learn education? Each country in South Asia must help financially. Each country in South Asia must come together to share your own ideas. Each country in South Asia must find solutions that caters to all the region, not only to one country. So before I conclude, I would like to share once again, whatever I had shared, this is not the research paper or scholar writing. I think these personal experiences that I experienced myself over the last, I would say, 1.5 years is the living experience because I'm living with the COVID-19 pandemic. And many of us are living with the pandemic. And we know how it's affecting the lives of children. We know how it's affecting the crisis, not only in education, but in other areas. We do it or we don't. It's up to us. And I would like to wish the conference, the educators, the scholars, all the very best in discussing the theme education crisis and wishing to come out with good suggestions and views and opinions from the conference. And I'm looking forward to hear some of the suggestions, some of the best practices that has come out through the conference. Last not the least, I would like to personally thank the Education Crisis Conference convener and the team for giving me time and again the opportunity to share some of my personal experience. Thank you very much. Tashitele.